palace of the Starbound Empire was built from black crystal and living metal. Its walls breathed softly, glowing with slow blue light. Thousands of alien nobles filled the grand hall, their voices low, their eyes sharp. Guards stood in perfect lines, holding weapons older than many worlds. At the center of the hall stood one human. He was not wearing armor. He was not in chains. He was not kneeling. That alone made the room uneasy. The human stood straight, hands at his sides, calm as stone. His name was Ethan Hale, and he looked small beneath the vast ceiling. The throne above him was carved from a single fallen star. On it sat Queen Valrix, ruler of the Empire, her scales dark red, her eyes like burning suns. The silence stretched too long. Then it broke. The queen rose from her throne in one sharp movement. The air shook. The crystal walls screamed softly as power surged through the hall. Her voice came down like thunder. "Did you know my daughter is pregnant, human?" The roar hit the crowd like a wave. Gasps exploded across the hall. Nobles recoiled. Some stepped back. Others stared in shock. A few laughed in disbelief, then fell silent when the queen's eyes turned toward them. Pregnant. Royal blood. By a human. That meant only one thing under imperial law. Death. All eyes snapped back to Ethan. He did not move. He did not speak. He did not beg. That made the fear worse. The queen stepped down from her throne. Each step cracked the floor. Her tail lashed behind her, cutting the air. "Answer me," she said, her voice cold now, controlled, far more dangerous. "Did you know?" Ethan lifted his head. He looked at the queen, not with pride, not with fear, but with steady resolve. "Yes," he said. The word echoed. A noble cried out, "Kill him!" Another shouted, "This is treason!" Weapons hummed to life. The queen raised one clawed hand, and the hall fell silent again. "Then you knew," she said slowly, "that touching royal blood without command is punishable by execution." "Yes," Ethan said again. Whispers spread like fire. Why was he not shaking? Why was he not pleading? From the side of the hall, movement stirred. The crowd parted, and she appeared. Princess Lyra Valrix. Her scales were pale gold, her eyes softer than her mother's, but just as bright. One hand rested protectively over her stomach. She walked forward despite the guards trying to stop her. "Mother," she said. Her voice trembled, but she did not stop. "This is my choice." The queen turned sharply. "You will be silent." "No," Lyra said. "I won't." The word shocked the court even more than the pregnancy. Lyra stepped beside Ethan. A guard raised a weapon. Ethan moved instantly. He stepped in front of Lyra without thinking, his body forming a shield. The guards froze. No human had ever done that. The queen stared. "You would place yourself before her?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan said. "Always." Something flickered in the queen's eyes. Not mercy. Not anger. Recognition. "You are aware," she said, "that your death will not save her." "I know," Ethan replied. "But my life is not more important than hers. Or the child." The nobles murmured again, confused now. This was not how humans behaved. The queen circled them slowly. Her voice dropped. "How did a human like you even reach my daughter?" The hall dimmed as the queen's power pressed down. Ethan spoke carefully. She was injured. On a border moon. Her ship was burning. No guards. No title. Just someone who needed help. Lyra nodded. "He saved me." The queen stopped. Saved. That word carried weight. Still, her face hardened. "Compassion does not excuse blood crimes," she said. "This empire was built on law." Ethan met her gaze. "Then judge me, not her." A noble shouted, "He admits guilt." Another said, "End this now." The queen lifted her hand again. "No." She turned to the high judges. "Seal the hall." Heavy doors slammed shut. Energy fields flared. No one could leave. Fear spread fast now. The queen returned to her throne, but did not sit. "There are older laws," she said. "Older than this empire." The room went still. Ancient laws were dangerous. She looked down at Ethan. There are prophecies, she continued. Warnings we buried, paths we refused to walk. Lyra's eyes widened. Mother, silence, the queen said softly. She stepped down once more and stood before Ethan, close enough for him to feel the heat of her power. You do not fear me, she said. I respect you, Ethan replied. But fear won't change what I'll do. And what is that? I'll protect my family. The word family echoed. A tremor ran through the floor. Lyra gasped, clutching her stomach. Lights flashed across the walls. Ancient symbols awakened. The palace itself seemed to react. The judges shouted. Energy spike detected. The queen's eyes widened for the first time. She looked from Lyra to Ethan to the glowing throne behind them. A whisper spread across the hall. Then one voice shouted, full of awe and terror, the throne is responding to him. The queen turned slowly. Her voice dropped to a whisper the entire empire would remember. What have you done, human? And far above them, unseen systems awakened, as if something ancient had just recognized its king. The grand hall did not calm after the queen's last words. If anything, it grew heavier. The glowing symbols slowly faded, but the fear stayed. Guards tightened their grip on their weapons. Judges whispered urgently to one another. The nobles watched Ethan like he was no longer human, but not fully alien either. Queen Veilrix lifted her clawed hand again. Enough, she said. The systems of the palace fell silent. The lights dimmed to a low glow. The throne stopped responding, as if it was waiting for a decision. The queen's eyes stayed locked on Ethan. You will explain, she said. From the beginning, no lies. Ethan nodded once. He took a slow breath. It happened 3 cycles ago, he said. On the edge of your space. A moon with no name. The hall seemed to fade as his words carried everyone back in time. The moon was dead and cold. Broken rocks floated above the surface. Ethan's small transport ship had been damaged during a supply run. He had no weapons, no backup, just a weak signal and failing power. Then he saw fire falling from the sky. A ship, alien, damaged, spinning out of control. Ethan did not know it carried a princess. He only knew someone was going to die. He landed hard, damaging his ship even more. The alien craft crashed nearby, tearing open on impact. Smoke filled the air. Metal burned. Ethan ran. Inside the wreck, he found Lyra. Her armor was cracked. One wing was injured. Her breathing was shallow. Royal markings were hidden under ash and blood. She did not look like a princess. She looked like someone alone. Ethan carried her out before the reactor exploded. He treated her wounds with basic tools. He stayed awake for 2 days, repairing both ships piece by piece. When Lyra woke, her first words were not command. They were fear. Ethan told her she was safe. He did not kneel. He did not bow. He did not even ask her name. That confused her. They spoke slowly, learning each other's words. Lyra could have revealed who she was. She chose not to. For days, they worked together. Ethan shared his food. Lyra helped prepare his ship. They laughed. They argued. They trusted. Trust became care. Care became something deeper. The memory faded. Back in the throne hole, silence ruled again. Lyra stepped forward slightly. I never told him who I was, she said. I wanted to know him without fear. A judge hissed. That was reckless. Yes, Lyra said, but it was honest. The queen's tail curled slowly. So the human did not hunt you, she said. He did not seek power. No, Lyra said. He treated me as a person. The queen turned to Ethan. And when you learn the truth? Ethan answered calmly. I offered to leave. Murmurs spread. I told her I would walk away if she wished, he continued. She didn't. Lyra reached for his hand. Ethan did not pull away. That single act caused outrage. Unacceptable, a noble shouted. He dares touch her, another screamed. The queen silenced them with a glance. You knew the cost, she said to Ethan. Yes. You knew this could start war. Yes. And yet you stayed. Yes. The queen studied him deeply now. You are either foolish, she said, or dangerous. Neither, Ethan replied. I'm responsible. That word again. Responsible. The Queen turned away, pacing. Humans are known for ambition, she said. You climb until you fall. You take until nothing remains. Why should I believe you are different? Ethan did not raise his voice. Because I never asked for a throne, he said. I never asked for protection. I never asked for your approval. He looked around the hall. I only chose not to abandon someone I loved. That word sent another ripple through the court. Loved. Lyra's eyes shone. The Queen stopped pacing. You place emotion above empire, she said. Yes, Ethan answered. Because without it, empire is empty. A judge stood suddenly. This is manipulation. The Queen lifted her hand again. Be silent. She turned back to Ethan, her gaze sharper now. There is something else, she said. Something you are not saying. Ethan hesitated. Lyra stiffened. The Queen noticed. The child, she said. When did you know? Ethan answered quietly. Before she did. The hall erupted. How? That is impossible. Humans cannot sense royal life. Ethan swallowed. When she slept, he said, the energy around had changed. The ship's systems reacted. I felt it. The Queen's eyes narrowed. That ability, she said slowly, belongs only to blood-bound guardians. The judges froze. Lyra whispered, Mother, what does that mean? The Queen did not answer her. She stared at Ethan like she was seeing him for the first time. No human, she said, should have that instinct. The throne behind her pulsed once, soft, almost gentle. The Queen turned sharply. The nobles fell silent. The Queen's voice dropped. There was once a law, she said, that spoke of a bridge between worlds. She looked at Ethan, a protector born outside blood, yet bound by choice. The judges paled. Lyra's breath caught. The Queen straightened. If that law is true, she said, then killing you may doom us all. The hall shook slightly, as if the palace agreed. The Queen raised her voice. Guards, do not touch him. Gasps filled the room. She looked down at Ethan, her expression unreadable. This is not over, human, she said. This is only the beginning. High above them, unseen systems aligned. And far beyond the palace walls, ancient forces turned their attention toward a human who was never meant to stand before a throne. The silence after the Queen's command felt unnatural. Guards lowered their weapons, but no one relaxed. The nobles whispered in tight, fearful voices. Judges stared at their data tablets, scrolling through laws that had not been opened for centuries. Queen Vilric stood tall at the center of the hall. There will be order, she said. Her voice carried authority, but something else had beneath it. Unease. She turned to the judges. Read the law. One judge stepped forward, his skin pale. By imperial code, he began, any outsider who binds with royal blood without command shall be executed. No exception. The words rang cold and sharp. The Queen nodded once. That law stands. Lyra stiffened. Her hand tightened around Ethan's. Ethan felt it, but he did not move closer. He did not try to comfort her. He only stood straighter. The Queen's eyes flicked to him. You hear it, she said. The law is clear. Yes, Ethan replied. And you still stand before me. Yes. A noble laughed nervously. He thinks himself untouchable. The Queen raised a claw, silencing the whole. You misunderstand, she said. He is not untouchable. He is already condemned. Lyra stepped forward. Mother. No, the Queen said firmly. This is not for you. She faced Ethan again. You will be executed, she said. Not today. Not until every truth is exposed. But understand this, the law demands your death. Ethan nodded. I accept that, he said. The hall erupted. Madness. He admits it. End this now. Lyra turned to Ethan, her voice breaking. Don't say that. Ethan looked at her softly. If it comes to that, he said, I want them to know I did not run. The Queen watched this exchange closely. You accept death too easily, she said. Why? Ethan answered without hesitation. Because I already chose what matters. The queen's tail struck the floor once. You think sacrifice makes you noble, she said. It does not erase consequence. I know, Ethan replied, but it defines who pays a price. The judges whispered urgently. One stepped forward. Your Majesty, there's another statute. Older, rarely invoked. The queen's eyes narrowed. Speak. The trial of binding, the judge said. If the accused claims guardianship over royal life, they may stand trial not as a criminal, but as a protector. The whole went still. Lyra gasped. That law is forbidden. It exists, the judge replied. The queen turned slowly toward Ethan. Guardianship, she said. Do you claim it? Ethan did not answer right away. He looked around the hall. He saw fear, rage, curiosity, hope. Then he looked at Lyra. Yes, he said. I do. A shockwave of reaction rippled through the court. You cannot, a noble shouted. That trial kills most who attempt it, another cried. The queen lifted her hand. You understand the cost, she asked. Ethan nodded. I will be judged by truth, not by blood. The queen studied him for a long moment. Very well, she said. The trial will begin. Lyra stepped in front of him. No, mother, please. That trial can break him. Ethan gently moved beside her. If I fall, he said quietly, then the law wins honestly. The queen's voice turned sharp. And if you survive? Then, Ethan said, you'll know I belong here. The queen turned to the judges. Prepare the chamber. The lights in the hall shifted. Walls opened. Ancient mechanisms awakened with deep, echoing sounds. The palace was older than the empire itself, and it remembered things its rulers tried to forget. As the crowd watched, the floor split open, revealing a path downward. Darkness waited below. The Chamber of Odes, a judge whispered. No human has entered it. Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm. Please, I can stop this. Ethan shook his head. If I let you fight this, he said, they will always see me as weakness. The queen watched them closely. You are willing to die, she said, to prove you are not a threat. Yes, Ethan replied, because I'm not. The queen turned away. Then walk, she commanded. Ethan stepped toward the opening. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, the air changed. The palace reacted. Symbols ignited along the walls. Energy flowed like breath. The judges stepped back in fear. Readings are spiking, one shouted. Lyra cried out as pain shot through her body. She clutched her stomach. Ethan stopped instantly. Lyra, the queen raised her hand, stunned. The child's presence surged, reacting to Ethan's nearness. Lights pulsed in rhythm, like a heartbeat. The queen stared. That resonance, she whispered. It's impossible. The throne above them pulsed again, stronger this time. The queen turned sharply toward it. No, she said under her breath. Not yet. She looked back at Ethan, her voice low. The trial has not even begun, she said, and already the palace responds to you. Ethan looked at his hands, confused. I'm not doing anything. That, the queen said, is what frightens me. The judges shouted warnings as systems long sealed came online. Ancient defense arrays awakened. Deep space beacons flared to life. Far beyond the empire, signals traveled, calling, warning, inviting. The queen straightened. Seal the chamber, she ordered. No one leaves. She looked down at Ethan, her expression grim. If you survive what comes next, she said, you will change this empire forever. The darkness below seemed to breathe. Ethan stepped forward again, not as a criminal, not as a lover, but as a man willing to face death for a child not yet born. And somewhere deep within the palace, something ancient prepared to judge him. The Chamber of Odes closed behind Ethan with a deep, final sound. Stone sealed over light. Silence swallowed the world. Ethan stood alone. The chamber was not dark, but dim, lit by slow-moving lines of ancient energy. Symbols covered the walls, older than the empire, older than the queen herself. They moved like living things, watching him. Above, far beyond the stone, the throne hall waited. Queen Veilrix did not sit. She stood rigid, staring at the sealed floor as if it might rise and accuse her. The judges spoke in tense whispers. This was a mistake, one said. If the prophecy awakens, another began. Enough? The queen snapped. Her gaze drifted, not to the court, but inward, to memory. Long before Ethan was born, before Lyra ever drew breath, the queen had stood in the same palace. Young, newly crowned, afraid. The empire had just survived a great war. Worlds burned, bloodlines shattered, and in the ruins, an ancient archive had opened. Inside it was a warning. A bridge will come from beyond the stars. Not of royal blood, not born to rule. Yet the throne will answer him. The elders had called it a lie, a human myth, but the archive had shown more. A child of two worlds. A protector, not a conqueror. A king who would not seek a crown. The queen remembered her fear. If such a being rose, the old power would fall. So she buried the record. She sealed the archive. She ordered silence. The empire was not ready. She was not ready. Back in the present. The queen clenched her claws. The signs are aligning, she whispered. Lyra sat on the steps of the throne, surrounded by healers. Sweat beaded on her skin. Her breathing was shallow but steady. He is not meant to die, Lyra said weakly. I can feel it. The queen turned sharply. You feel too much. No, Lyra replied. I feel the truth. The queen hesitated. You don't understand what you carry, she said. That child is more than royal blood. Lyra looked up. You knew. The queen did not deny it. I hoped to stop it, she said quietly. I failed. The judges fell silent. Below, in the chamber, Ethan felt the air thicken. A voice spoke, not loud, not soft, but everywhere. State your claim. Ethan swallowed. I claim guardianship, he said. By choice, not by force. Blood does not bind you. Why do you stand? Because the child need protection, Ethan replied, and the mother deserves peace. The symbols shifted. You may leave. Save yourself. Ethan shook his head. I won't. You will die. Then I die standing. The chamber pulsed. Pain hit Ethan like fire through his chest. Memories flashed. Earth skies, quiet nights, simple dreams. None of them included a throne. Above, alarms rang. The chamber is drawing power. A judge shouted. Lyra cried out again, clutching her stomach. The queen felt it then. The truth she had denied. The prophecy was not a path to power. It was a test. She stepped forward, her voice shaking. Stop the trial. The judges froze. Your Majesty. I said stop it. The queen raised both hands. Ancient seals flared, resisting her. The palace did not obey. The chamber answered something else. Something older. Something that recognized Ethan's refusal to run. Below, Ethan fell to one knee, gasping. The symbols burned brighter, pressing deeper. Why choose pain for a future not yours? Ethan forced himself up. Because someone has to go first, he said, so others don't have to. The chamber went still. Above, the throne pulsed with steady light. The queen stared at it in shock. It's responding to his resolve, she whispered. Not his blood. Lyra's pain eased slightly. He's protecting us, she said softly. The queen felt something crack inside her. Fear, then understanding. She turned to the judges. Prepare the archive, she said. The sealed one. The judges' eyes widened. That knowledge was forbidden. It ends now, the queen replied. Below, the chamber released a wave of light. Ethan collapsed, breathing hard, but alive. The voice returned, changed. Guardianship accepted, conditionally. Ethan laughed weakly. That's fair. The symbols dimmed. The chamber doors began to open. The queen straightened, her voice firm. The empire will learn the truth, she said, even if it costs me my crown. The judges stared. Lyra smiled through tears. Far beyond the palace, hidden fleets shifted. Old allies stirred. Old enemies listened. The secret the queen had buried was rising, and it had chosen a human who did not want to rule, only to protect. The doors of the Chamber of Oaths opened slowly. Light spilled into the throne hole like a living thing. Ethan stepped out unsteadily. His clothes were scorched. His face was pale. But he was standing. That alone shook the court. No one survives the chamber, a judge whispered. The nobles leaned forward, fear and awe mixing in their eyes. Queen Veilrix did not move. She watched Ethan closely, as if seeing him for the first time without the weight of law or fear. The symbols on the walls dimmed, but the palace itself still hummed, alive and alert. Lyra tried to stand. Pain struck her again, sharp, sudden. Lyra. Ethan moved instantly, forgetting the court, the queen, everything else. He reached her side just as healers rushed forward. The child, one healer said urgently, "Something is happening." Energy reading spiked across the hall. "The womb is resonating," another cried. "Power levels rising fast." The nobles backed away. "This is unnatural," one shouted. "That child will destroy us," another screamed. The queen raised her voice. "Enough!" She knelt beside her daughter, placing a steady hand over Lyra's. "Breathe," she commanded softly. Lyra gasped, clutching Ethan's arm. "It's reacting to him." Ethan froze. "I'll step back." "No," Lyra said firmly. "Stay." The moment he stayed, the pain eased. The whole fell silent. The judges stayed at their screens. "Stabilizing," one said slowly. "The child is calming." A wave of realization spread through the room. The unborn child responded not to royal blood, but to him. The queen felt it then, a shift deeper than law. "This child," she said quietly, "is bound to you." The words carried weight no one dared challenge. A noble stepped forward in panic. "Your Majesty, that makes a human a threat." Ethan turned sharply. "No." The noble recoiled at his tone. "I will never use a child," Ethan said. "I will protect them from being used." The queen watched him closely. "Even from us?" she asked. Ethan met her gaze. "Especially from power." Silence followed. The throne behind them pulsed once. Slow, steady, approval. The queen inhaled sharply. "The throne accepts his oath," she said. Gasps filled the hall. "That is impossible," a judge shouted. "The throne only answers royalty." "Not anymore," the queen replied. She stood and faced the court. "For generations," she said, "we rule through fear of bloodlines and prophecy. Today, that ends." The nobles erupted in protest. "This will fracture the empire. The outer systems will revolt." The queen did not raise her voice. "Then they will learn," she said, "what true stability looks like." Lyra leaned against Ethan, exhausted but smiling. "Our child chose him," she whispered. Ethan swallowed hard. "I didn't choose this power." The queen turned to him. "No, you chose responsibility." The palace light shifted, glowing warmer now. A judge stepped forward, voice shaking. "By ancient protocol, the protector must be acknowledged." The queen nodded slowly. "Then acknowledge him." The judge hesitated, then knelt, one knee to the floor. The sound echoed like thunder. Another judge followed, then a guard, then another. Shock rippled through the nobles. One by one, they knelt, not in fear, but recognition. Ethan stepped back, alarmed. "Please, don't." The queen raised her hand. "They are not kneeling to you," she said. "They are kneeling to the future you represent." Lyra looked out over the hall. "This child," she said softly, "belongs to all worlds." The queen closed her eyes briefly. "So be it." Far beyond the palace, systems registered the shift. Border fleets paused mid-movement. Rebel cells hesitated. Ancient treaties awakened. The empire felt it. Change. The queen looked down at Ethan. "The people will demand a name," she said. "A title." Ethan shook his head. "I don't want one." The queen's lips curved slightly. "That," she said, is why they will give you one anyway. The throne pulsed again, stronger this time. Not command, not dominance, recognition. The queen turned to the court. Prepare the conclave, she ordered. The Empire will witness what was born today. Ethan looked at Lyra, fear and wonder in his eyes. This is bigger than us. Lyra squeezed his hand. Then we face it together. Above them, the palace stars brightened. Across the Empire, a single truth spread faster than any decree. A child had awakened something ancient, and a human had become the Empire's anchor, not by force, but by choice. The conclave of worlds had not been summoned in over 2 centuries. Yet within hours, the great circular chamber filled. Holographic envoys flickered to life. Generals stood in full armor. Noble houses gathered, tense and divided. Above them all hung the ancient throne, silent, watching. At the center stood Ethan. No crown, no weapon, no guard. Lyra sat nearby, supported by healers. Her eyes never left him. Queen Veilrix addressed the assembly. You are here, she said, because the Empire stands at a turning point. Murmurs spread. A noble lord stepped forward. A human has violated our bloodline. This alone is reason for war. Others agreed. The child is a danger. The throne has been compromised. Ethan listened, hands clenched at his sides. The queen turned to him. You may speak. Ethan took a breath. I never planned to be here, he said simply. I didn't come to take anything. A general scoffed. Yet the throne answered you. Ethan nodded. I don't understand why. But I know this. I won't rule through fear. Laughter broke out. That is weakness, a noble sneered. Ethan looked at him calmly. No, it's restraint. The noble opened his mouth to argue. The chamber shook. A deep sound echoed, like a heartbeat. The throne lit up. Symbols ignited across its surface, ancient and clear. Every voice died. Recognition sequence initiating. An automated voice announced. The queen froze. That system hasn't activated since the first king, a judge whispered. Energy flowed outward, forming a ring around Ethan. Scanners flared. Not testing blood, a technician cried. It's testing intent. The nobles panicked. Shut it down. This is impossible. Ethan stood still. I'm not afraid, he said quietly. If this harms my family, I'll walk away. The throne responded instantly. The energy softened. The queen's breath caught. It's answering his choice, she whispered. A noble tried to step forward. A barrier flared, stopping him cold. The throne projected an image, an echo from the past. A figure stood there, not royal, not alien, human. The first bridge. The whole gasped. The prophecy, a judge whispered. The image spoke in a voice heavy with age. A ruler who seeks power will fail. A protector who refuses it will endure. The projection faded. Silence crushed the chamber. Ethan looked around, overwhelmed. I didn't ask for this. Lyra's voice rang out, clear despite her weakness. And that is why you deserve it. The queen stepped forward slowly. For the first time, she removed her crown. Gasps filled the hall. She held it out, not placing it on Ethan's head, but lowering it to the floor. I will not rule a future built on fear, she said, nor will I deny what the throne has chosen. A noble shouted, You would abandon the empire to a human? The queen turned sharply. I would entrust it to a guardian. She faced Ethan. You will not be king by blood, she said. You will be king by oath. Ethan shook his head. I don't want obedience. The queen's eyes softened. Then you will receive loyalty. The throne pulsed, bright, steady. One guard dropped to his knee. King, he said. Another followed. Then another. The word spread like fire. King, king, king. Ethan raised his hands. Stop, please. But the chant grew, not commanded. Chosen. The queen bowed her head. Lyra wept silently. The empire had not crowned a ruler. It had recognized one. Above the chamber, star maps shifted, fleets rerouted, old alliances reformed without orders. Across thousands of worlds, Systems received the same signal. A protector has been acknowledged. Ethan closed his eyes. He felt the weight, not of power, but of responsibility. When he opened them, his voice was steady. "If I am to stand here," he said, "then hear me." The chamber quieted. "I will never rule above you," he said. "I will stand with you. And if I fail, I expect to be challenged." The throne pulsed in approval. The queen smiled, sad, proud, relieved. "The Empire has spoken," she said. And for the first time in its long history, it shouted not in fear, but in hope. The chant slowly faded, not because it was ordered to stop, but because it had been heard. The conclave stood in silence, watching the man they had just named king and the man who still looked unsure of the word. Ethan lowered his hands. "I won't sit above you," he said again, his voice calm but firm. "And I won't rule alone." The throne responded with a soft glow, not demanding obedience, but acknowledging intent. Queen Veilric stepped forward one last time. "The Empire has known conquerors," she said. "It has known tyrants and rulers born of fear. Today it knows something new." She turned toward Ethan, a guardian who chooses duty over desire. She placed her crown, not on his head, but on the arm of the throne. "It will remain there," she said, "until it is no longer needed." The nobles did not protest. They understood. Lyra rose with effort, supported by Ethan. The hall watched as she placed Ethan's hand over her stomach. The child responded. A warm pulse of energy spread across the chamber, gentle, stabilizing. "He doesn't rule for power," Lyra said softly. "He rules so our child will never have to." The words carried farther than any decree. The judges stepped forward together. By ancient accord, they said, "The era of blood-only rule ends." Gasps rippled through the hall. "From this day," the judges continued, "leadership shall be bound to oath, not origin." The throne pulsed once, final, complete. Across the empire, barriers lowered. Occupied systems were released. Old enemies found their fleet standing down, confused but relieved. The empire breathed. Ethan looked out at them all. "This changes everything," he said. "And change is never safe." He met the eyes of generals, nobles, citizens. But neither is staying broken. No one argued. Queen Veilric approached him quietly. "I tried to stop this future," she admitted, "because I feared losing control." She bowed her head, not as a ruler, but as a mother. "You saved my daughter," she said, "and you saved us from ourselves." Ethan shook his head gently. "You saved the Empire by letting go." The queen smiled, tired but free. The conclave dissolved not in chaos, but in purpose. Plans were formed, borders redefined, 8 fleets launched instead of warships. Days later, under a sky filled with calm stars, Ethan stood on a balcony with Lyra. "I'm still human," he said quietly. Lyra smiled. "That's why this works." She placed his hand back on her stomach. The child's presence was steady now, peaceful, a bridge between worlds. Far across the empire, people spoke of the same truth in different languages. Not all kings are born. Some are chosen by what they refuse to become. The throne remained behind them, silent, watchful, no longer hungry. And for the first time in generations, the future did not belong to fear, prophecy, or bloodlines. It belonged to choice, to responsibility, to a human who never wanted a throne, but stood when it mattered. The end.